The damage is pretty straightforward, but Jonathan says he still couldn't get it fixed. This is 2 years worth of payments. Jerry has dished out thousands and the balance has barely moved. They had a good last rehearsal, but before these seats filled up with people hoping to have a night full of fun and laughter, I caught up with the troupe just before the show to see how they were holding up. Following the protest, President Trump announced an upcoming executive order related to national security coming sometime this week. Another change that happened this week was on social media. Facebook users can now upload stories like they can on Snapchat and Instagram. In March, the Governor Greg Abbott and the country sheriff had migratory disagreements. UTA recently has been having the same dilemma. The thing is, UTA hasn't had a football team since 1985. Now, our biggest sport is basketball. How has that changed how we celebrate homecoming, and what can we expect from the basketball team during the annual celebration? I went to find out. Jonathan Bellata loves his car. It has tinted windows, custom wheels, and he likes to keep it looking nice.
I definitely take very good care of my cars.
One day, Jonathan walked out of work to find his precious car had gotten some awful looking dents and scratches. What he found next to it wasn't another car.
You get ready to come home, you don't expect to come out and see something like this.
This is what he found, a large metal spool. The road in front of his employer was under construction. Some heavy winds pushed the spool right into Jonathan's car. Jonathan found that the spool had AT&T's information stamped on the side.
I had the purchase order number, where it was delivered, who ordered it.
The damage is pretty straightforward, but Jonathan says he still couldn't get it fixed. He started looking for someone from AT&T who could help. He eventually got in contact with their claim service and the construction company that had been working on the site outside of his job. Neither of them could help.
And I got no responses and didn't get anywhere. That's when I really lost it.
So Jonathan reached out to us. We got in contact with the main company, AT&T. They pressured the contractor to pay for the damages. Though the contractor claims that his construction site was clean, he sent Jonathan a check. Now Jonathan has his money back, and he can get his car back to looking nice again.
Last night I dreamt of a lemon tree so beautiful you wouldn't believe it's real.
Ruba Akkad is an English major at UTA. Her mother was born in Kuwait. Her father was born in Syria. She herself was born in Fort Worth, Texas.
Even though I wasn't born there, it still feels like home. Old Damascus is like just the most beautiful place I've ever been. And I always incorporate that into my poetry because it's beautiful.
With the ongoing discord regarding Syria, she feels that her poetry can enlighten others' views towards the country's people.
What I try to do in my poetry is humanize those refugee lives, and instead of giving numbers and like data, I'm gonna like make it more personal. I'm gonna talk about the beauty of Syria's streets. I'm gonna talk about where these people actually came from, the fact that they've had lives, they're people just like us.
Ruba says her poetry doesn't only bridge a gap with the outside world, but also in her own home.
They're proud and they're happy that I'm using my voice, like to further a movement, to further like something, just to go beyond myself. Poetry brings us together more because even if we disagree, like at some points we have disagreed on like politically, but despite that, poetry, like it's that constant.
While there are contrasting attitudes regarding the war in Syria and the U.S.'s relations with the country, Ruba hopes to focus on the common people.
I'm focused more on the humanitarian side of it, and that's where everybody can kind of agree. I've done a lot, I've protested, I've done so much, but like my place in this isn't political anymore. It's more like humanitarian, and I think that's where people need to like focus, because being outraged, like it's a valid reaction, but right now it's not gonna help, I think. Maybe they can hear me now. Maybe, just maybe, I can paint over the sad rainbow. Perhaps a picture of a citrus garden. Maybe one day I can fill those empty museums. Just maybe.
Camille Connor, UTA News. Morgan Rubin is a broadcast student and a senior about to graduate in May. She credits Pell Grants for helping her afford her last 2 years of college.
If I hadn't gotten any Pell Grants at all, I probably would have ended up dropping out my sophomore year, or trying to figure out a way to get approved for outside loans that doesn't really have anything to do with FAFSA or anything, just going and finding outside lenders that I can get $1,000 to $200,000 from.
President Trump's new budget plan for the 2018 fiscal year includes cutting the federal Pell Grant program by $3.9 billion. UTA gets $47 million in federal funds each year. Financial Aid Executive Director Karen Krause says aid money is allotted to thousands of UTA students every year.
The 16-17 award year, we have right at 13,000 students who are receiving federal Pell Grant. For the last 5 years, that's been pretty consistent. We've had between about 12,600 students and just over 13,000 students each year that have received federal Pell Grant. A high level of our Pell Grant students also receive additional assistance above and beyond the federal Pell Grant. For this year, the maximum award is just over $5,600 for the year for a full-time student, so that's not enough to cover the full-time tuition and fees.
Ruben's sister is a senior in high school, and she's glad that her sister will be able to have a blueprint to follow and not fall in the trap of getting as many loans as she did in her first 2 years of college.
We already know that she will get the Pell Grant, and she's done the FAFSA, which is an advantage that I didn't have my freshman year. Which is amazing because it is saving her $2,000 that she doesn't have to get for the year.
Executive Director Krause also says in a statement that they try to get the word out to students about financial aid options through outreach, posters, and electronic banners, as well as student publications and local news publications. Ruben plans to go into teaching as a part of the government's loan forgiveness program. She would also like to create a nonprofit program that helps students get prepared for college and teaches them about their financial options. Camille Connor, UTA News.